Hello and welcome to What the F*** Just Happened Today, your essential guide to the daily shock and awe in national politics. I'm Joe Amditis. Let's get to it. It's Tuesday, July 5th, 2022. Welcome to day 532. At least 7 people were killed in a shooting in Highland Park, Illinois during a 4th of July parade, and more than 30 people were injured. The suspected gunman, Robert Bobby Crimo III, had, quote, pre-planned this attack for several weeks, end quote, and disguised himself as a woman in an attempt to conceal his identity after firing more than 70 bullets from a rooftop using a high-powered rifle similar to an AR-15. Deputy Chief Christopher Covelli said that after Crimo fired into the crowd, he dropped his rifle and escaped with the crowd almost as if he was an innocent spectator, before walking to his mother's home and borrowing a vehicle. Police discovered a second rifle inside the car. Both rifles had been legally purchased in the Chicago area. The shooting came a week and a half after Biden signed the most significant gun measure to pass Congress in nearly 3 decades. Moving on, the New York State Legislature passed a measure to enshrine the right to an abortion and access to contraception in the state constitution. If fully enacted, the Equal Rights Amendment would explicitly add protections for New Yorkers to access abortion care. Amending the state constitution requires passage by 2 separately elected legislatures and then approval by the voters in a referendum. Florida's ban on abortions after 15 weeks of pregnancy, meanwhile, is back in effect after a state court judge blocked it earlier today. And in Ohio, a 10-year-old rape victim was denied an abortion. With the state's trigger law banning abortions after 6 weeks in effect, the girl, who was 6 weeks and 3 days pregnant, had to travel to Indiana to get the medical procedure. Biden, meanwhile, predicted that some states will try to arrest women for crossing state lines to get an abortion. Quote, people are going to be shocked when the first state tries to arrest a woman for crossing a state line to get health services, Biden said. He added, quote, and I don't think people believe that's going to happen, but it's going to happen. And it's going to telegraph to the whole country that this is a gigantic deal that goes beyond, it affects all your basic rights, end quote. Back in D.C., Liz Cheney, the January 6th committee's vice chair, suggested that the panel could make more than one criminal referral to the Justice Department over Trump's role in the attack on the Capitol. While bringing charges against a former president would be unprecedented and difficult for the country, not doing so would support a much graver constitutional threat, Cheney said. Adam Kinzinger, meanwhile, says new witnesses have also come forward since Cassidy Hutchinson testified. And finally, a Georgia grand jury subpoenaed Rudy Giuliani, Lindsey Graham, and 5 others as part of an investigation into Trump's potential criminal interference in the 2020 presidential election. In addition to Giuliani and Graham, those being summoned to provide testimony include John Eastman, Cleta Mitchell, Kenneth Chesebro, and Jenna Ellis, all of whom advised Trump on ways to overturn Biden's wins in Georgia and several other swing states. The special grand jury also issued a subpoena to Jackie Pick Deason, a podcaster who also supported Trump's efforts to overturn the election. The grand jury, citing Giuliani's December 2020 testimony claiming to have evidence of widespread voter fraud, believes Giuliani, quote, possesses unique knowledge concerning communications between himself, former President Trump, the Trump campaign, and other known and unknown individuals involved in the multi-state coordinated efforts to influence the results of the November 2020 election in Georgia and elsewhere, end quote. And in the polls, Harvard says 71% of voters say Biden should not run for a second term, 45% said Biden is a bad president, while 30% said he's too old, and 26% said it's time for change. Also, 61% of voters don't want Trump to run in 2024, 36% called Trump too erratic, 33% said he'd divide America, and 30% said Trump is responsible for January 6, 2021. Gallup says 27% of Americans express a great deal or quite a lot of confidence in U.S. institutions, an all-time low. And Monmouth University says 42% of Americans say they're struggling financially, up 18 points since last year. That's all for now. You can find the links and sources for all of these stories on the main website. And as always, visit whatthefjusthappenedtoday.com for the latest news and headlines. Until next time, I'm Joe Amditis.